Hi, Courtney.
Hey.
Congratulations on the launch of your brand new show. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share more with the broader community.
The community needs you, Courtney. I can't even tell you how important not only your show, this podcast show is, but your business is. I feel like every week I'm referring a new friend of mine that really needs your help. So, with that, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to dive in and let your audience know a little bit about you. Can I ask you some questions so we can play get to know you for a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Do you have any kids? What's your family situation? Can you give a little bit of background about that?
So I have two children. I've been married for, gosh, a long time now, 18 years. My oldest, Connor, is 16. And then my daughter, Molly, is 12 years old. We live in Southern California, Midwest, born and raised, and living close to Malibu now with my husband, two kids, golden retriever, and a couple cats.
Do you have a white picket fence? Because I feel like that sounds like the perfect, most wholesome intro I've ever heard in my life.
Picket fence, but it was our dream as Midwesterners to have a house with a pool in Southern California, and now we've got it. So we do enjoy where we live.
That's fantastic. Okay, can you share with us about your business? First of all, what was your background before you started this business? And then maybe we can dive deeper into your actual business.
So the intro of like kids and family sounds like everything's perfect and I've got this amazing family, and I do. But the reason I'm in this business is because while we were building our family, we went through some really tough fertility struggles between the kids. Um, my son was an easy pregnancy, not even planned. So I thought I was one of those fertile people who just gets pregnant really easily. I got pregnant again easily when we wanted another, when he was barely a year old. And I had a miscarriage in the second trimester, and it was devastating. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but besides devastating. It was a miscarriage. I had to have a DNC. And the whole time, the only thing carrying me through was I get pregnant easily. You get pregnant easily. You'll get pregnant again. And I didn't get pregnant again easily. I went on to do fertility treatments that failed, and it was months and months, and then became a few years of just heartbreak after heartbreak. And those of you listening who have been in this know that you're like living your life in 2 week increments when you're in that. So, as far as background goes and like how we went from there to here, um, I also had a lot of health symptoms over the years before I tried to get pregnant. I had gut issues and headaches and acne. I'd taken birth control for quite a while. And when we were going through our fertility struggles, I kept asking, is there any, like, why is this happening? Oh, well, it just happens sometimes. I was in my 20s. So it was like, it just happens sometimes, really? Like, what is going on here? Never got any answers. And I think I was blessed with my daughter because I was only 28. Had I been in my later 30s, it may not have happened without functional health coming into the picture. So let's fast forward. I have the two kids. My health symptoms continued to get worse and worse and worse throughout my 30s with gut issues, hormonal issues. I had undiagnosed PCOS. There was a lot going on in my body that I went to a number of doctors for, like a GI doctor, dermatologist, like down the list of like, I have all foods upset my stomach, my face keeps breaking out, I have headaches all the time. No one ever had any answers. Everything looks normal. You're totally healthy. You look great. Until I found functional medicine. And there were so many dots that were connected when I ran functional labs for the first time that were like light bulb moments of, oh my gosh, this stuff has been here all along. This stuff has been here all along. And I worked through functional protocols, and I would say I got to like 60 to 70% better on my gut symptoms, on some of my hormonal symptoms and headaches within 4 to 5 months, which was incredible because I had been just slowly getting worse and worse over my adult life. And I knew in that moment that the world needed to know about that. Like, why didn't I know about this? I'm a smart, educated woman. As far as my background goes, before functional medicine, I went to school and got an undergrad in business, and I got an MBA, and I was helping run tech startup companies by this point when I found functional medicine. And I was an executive for a highly reputable tech startup company. And this changed my life so much that I was like, I am going to drop everything that I've worked on for a long time, go to school for this, and spread this message and help other women and other families because it was so impactful in my life. So I went through training, became a functional practitioner, and started digging really deep on gut health, on thyroid health, and hormone health. And I knew I was working with women on hormonal and gut issues. And there was like this God wink, this tap, whatever you want to call it, where there's like little messages that are coming to you that are like, you need to help women with fertility. You need to dive deeper on your training and help women who are trying to get pregnant. I'll get emotional now. And my clients who know us know that I am not like a cold, sterile practitioner. I, am in it with them because I care so deeply about this journey. And there's nothing more impactful and beautiful in this world than helping create life. So that was a bit of the long-winded version of how we got here, but that's it.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I'm crying too. And I think you said the right word, which was heartbreaking. I have so many friends, Courtney, that are, they already have kids and they cannot get pregnant and they shouldn't be high risk. That's why I send them all to you. And they don't even know what functional medicine is, nor did I. Can you explain for those of us that are not really that well versed in this? Can you just kind of explain the gap or the difference that functional medicine serves versus, say, going to like an IVF doctor or, when you should be using functional medicine, for example?
Yeah, great question. And we get this a lot. So let's talk about what traditional fertility care looks like in this country and really around the world. But you decide that you're ready to have a baby or your fourth baby, whatever it is in that process. And your OBGYN or primary care doctor says, great, try for a year, maybe 6 months if you're a little older. And then if it's not working out, let me know and we'll go into next steps, which usually look like a referral to a fertility doctor and some version of letrozole, Clomid, and a trigger shot, IUI, IVF. Like that's the progression of the path. The testing that's offered on this side of the house in Western medicine is barely scratching the surface. Now, sometimes they'll find something structural or genetic that is like, that's your answer for why you can't get pregnant. But it's not that common. A lot of times they end up saying like, we don't really see anything going on. And like, here's the path. And they'll send you down the drug and treatment path either way. So they'll have your partner run the man run a semen analysis and you'll run a hormone test. You'll make sure you're ovulating and your tubes are open. That's barely scratching the surface of the things in your body that impact your ability to conceive and carry a healthy pregnancy. So that's where functional health and functional testing in medicine comes in. Ideally, we would be interconnected and there would be an integrative approach where when you go and tell your provider you want to have a baby, they're like, actually, I know this great functional provider, go over, run the test, see what's going on and get yourself in the best shape possible, like figure out what's going on early. That's usually not what happens. Most of the clients who find us have been trying to conceive for quite a while. Maybe they've tried fertility treatments that didn't work. Maybe they're at that crossroads where they're like, it's not working. I don't know if I want to do IVF. I feel like in my soul that something has got to be wrong in my body. And we run functional labs that are going much deeper into the interconnected systems in the body. Because the easiest way to think about it is that Western medicine really looks at our body as these pieces, right? Like this is your cognitive system and this is your cardiovascular system and your heart, and your reproductive system is your reproductive organs, and your gut is your GI tract. And in reality, they all work together in beautiful harmony or imbalance if there's things going on in those systems. So when you come to a practitioner like us, you're going to run a full panel of functional labs that are digging into those interconnected systems in the body. And we are looking for optimal ranges. We are looking for you to be in an optimal state of, we refer to cellular health and energy a lot, which is really talking about your body's ability to be vibrant and healthy, as well as create a healthy pregnancy. So what people don't realize when they come, a lot of people don't realize when they come into a functional health program is everyone who comes to us trying to get pregnant, right? But they also say like, I have gut issues. I don't sleep well. I have an extra 20 pounds that I just can't lose and I'm doing everything right. I'm tired a lot. They have some symptoms going on and everybody's a little bit unique. And what's beautiful about this work is that the work that you're doing to optimize your fertility is also going to help you feel better day to day because optimal health is optimal fertility.
So you guys run blood work that is multiple layers deeper and more extensive than somebody would typically get at a traditional fertility doctor. Is that right?
There's a couple ways I like to talk about the testing we do. One is lab values, lab ranges, and the other is the kinds of testing. So let's talk about the lab ranges. We have our clients run a full panel of functional blood chemistry. Some of it is markers that you maybe would have run at your fertility doc or your primary care doc, but the lab ranges are incredibly different. So conventional lab ranges are based on an average of what the average population is coming in with, right? It's the average. And unfortunately, our population has gotten increasingly unhealthy in the past few decades. Let's talk about the past 50 years. And so those lab ranges have gotten wider and wider and wider to the point where to be outside of those lab ranges, things are definitely not anywhere near optimal cellular health and energy. So we have lab ranges that are representing optimal health because we're looking again for optimal cellular health and energy so you can get and stay pregnant. So we're going to identify issues much, much sooner than a conventional lab would. And so a lot of times people will come to us and even blood work that they've had done. Like we do a single consult for people if they want. They can send over their blood labs and we hop on the phone and they're like, they said everything looked normal. And it's like, yes, from a conventional range, everything looks normal. But here are these 7 indicators that things are not optimal, which can be impacting your fertility. Okay, that's one side. We run blood labs. We also go deeper than that, and we're looking at a dried urine test. We're looking at a stool sample, and we're looking at micronutrients in the body, which are a fancy way of saying like your nutrients, minerals, amino acids, and antioxidants, to make sure those are also optimal. And those are markers that would never get looked at in conventional medicine. We're looking at how the gut is functioning. Again, we're looking at those micronutrient values and we're looking really deeply into the endocrine system. So the blood tests that you run for estrogen, progesterone, testosterone are surface level. We're looking deeper than that. How is your body metabolizing and detoxifying those hormones? How's your body biochemically handling stress? Real deep into the endocrine system. So I like to think of it in those 2 buckets.
That is amazing. Okay, so in doing all this testing, what are some of the biggest themes or recurring issues that you typically see with your clients that they come in and, to your point, everything is normal according to their doctor, but they're complaining of certain things. And then when you look at their labs from your end, you see these recurring issues.
Yeah. So every case is unique and you're asking, there are a lot of themes that come up with clients who are having trouble either getting pregnant or having repeat miscarriages in the first trimester. We see a lot of cases of what looks like PCOS that sometimes has been undiagnosed because that's a whole nother podcast on like what PCOS actually is and if providers are trained to recognize it. So PCOS a lot of times will come with some level of insulin resistance. So they're having trouble balancing their blood sugar, which is causing issues downstream. We see the majority of our clients have some level of suboptimal thyroid function. So they will come in either knowing it and maybe on Synthroid or levothyroxine, but still not getting to a successful pregnancy, or having no idea. I had a client a few months ago who was really livid with her fertility clinic when she's like, they ran my thyroid panel and it was fine. And I'm like, well, it's not optimal though. And she's like, I spent $115,000 with them and they didn't tell me this. But the vast majority of clients fall into some level of suboptimal thyroid function. And that's because the thyroid controls your entire all your metabolic processes in your body, including your ability to get and stay pregnant, including your reproductive cycle. So that is super common. We get a lot of clients who have been on hormonal birth control for some amount of time in their life. Maybe they ate a vegan or vegetarian diet at some point, or they've had like a lot of stress and trauma in their past. that tends to lead to some combination of those is like what American woman hasn't been through, a decent amount of that. Micronutrient deficiencies. They're eating a really healthy diet, but because of these things in their life, the stress they've been through and the things they've taken and all of that, as well as the quality of our soil now, they still have micronutrient deficiencies, even when they're eating a super healthy diet. And then a lot going on in the gut. So we don't tend to look towards the gut, right? In traditional medicine, it's being talked about more, which I love because there's a lot more coming out about the microbiome and its importance. But if you have imbalances in your microbiome, you've got inflammation in your gut, you've got things going on there, that's going to impact your ability to get and stay pregnant in a big way too. So like to wrap it up, those themes are stuff going on in the gut, micronutrient deficiencies, and the thyroid. Those three play some kind of role in the vast majority of the cases that come in.
That's fascinating. And how do you remediate those issues? I know this is a broad question, but maybe just in general, how do you tend to make recommendations? Is it through supplements, diet? Do you prescribe medication or have them work with their doctors? How does that remediation can you walk us through how that typically
Yeah.
works once you've identified some issues?
Yeah. So again, every case is a little bit unique, and we're looking not just at the lab value on paper. So again, allopathic Western medicine, you're going to get labs back and they're going to say, this marker is off. You need to take this drug. It means, you have these three things mean you have this disease, or this marker is low, take this supplement. We are looking at the markers that are off, but how those correlate to the symptoms you have in your life and what's going on in your lifestyle, as well as the other tests. So just because you have low metabolized cortisol doesn't mean it's going to be the same protocol for you as it is for your friend who's going through the program. So we're looking at that holistic picture, and we are creating protocols which have some supplements in them. Supplements are a part of the program, but I like to tell people supplements are supplementary. Like that's why they have that name. And some people are like, just tell me what supplements to take. You have to do the other pieces of the protocol too, which do involve some diet and some lifestyle modifications, again, depending on what you have going on. And our philosophy, our approach is always to meet clients where they are. So we get clients at all different stages of what I would call a health journey overall outside of their fertility, right? Some of them have been trying to eat really well and clean and organic and exercising and doing all these things for years. And some of them are eating fast food multiple times a week. We meet them where they are so that they can actually have sustainable change, because you don't have to be perfect to get and stay pregnant. But this is pulling you along that journey for the 6 months of our program when we're working with clients. So we don't say like, here's all the things you have to do, like rip the Band-Aid off, change your entire life, because that's not sustainable for anyone. We meet them where they are and walk them through manageable, sustainable flow changes.
That's fantastic. And so kind of at a really high level, can you just walk us through like the 3 or 4 step process? It sounds like you have a very clear process where you're meeting them where they are. So some kind of intake, blood and labs, and then recommended protocols. But as somebody that really say that, you just lost a baby again, it's your 4th baby. This just happened to a friend of mine, sadly. And she's defeated and discouraged and doesn't know what is the next right step. She also has stress. By the way, this story is something that I also can really relate to, and I know several other people. That's why I'm using this example. But, she also has the stress of people saying, well, you don't need another kid. You already have 3. So she's got all this emotional stuff happening in the background, guilt, confusion, not sure if it makes sense for her to move forward. Like, how do you handle that person and kind of guide them through this process?
Well, my heart goes out to your friend. I had a lot of clients like that, right? And I, as someone who suffered through secondary infertility myself, have a lot of compassion towards women that are trying to have their first baby or their 5th baby, because it's not up to anyone else how big our families are going to be. If your heart is calling you to have another baby, that's a big calling in life, and you don't want to have regrets there. So, there's a lot of judgment around that. Like, oh, you already have healthy kids. But when a woman feels called to have another child and continue to grow her family, that is so personal. So whether it's the first, and we have clients who've been working with us on their third or fourth kid, and it is just as emotional. So when they come into the program, we run everything virtually. So we work with clients across the United States. Yes, we're in Southern California, but we have clients in Florida and New York and Minnesota, like all over the country. They sign up to work with us virtually. They do a deep intake form where we're asking them all the questions and poking into their lives and their history and what they eat and how they, when they poop and all the things, right? And then they get their test kits in the mail. So everything comes to your house, which is a different process than most people are used to, because you're usually just going to a lab for a blood draw, right? For test kits. And they collect all of their samples, they send them back, and then we start to get reports back that tell us, like, every single time, I'll tell you guys, people are used to, well, nothing's wrong. And we've never told anyone nothing's going on in your body. Every single time there are these moments when the test results start coming in where clients have two feelings usually. And I describe it as relief and grief. So they start to get their protocols as we get lab results back. So the process is like, you hop on your onboarding, we're working with you on usually diet early on. And it could be like, we've got a long way to go, or we just have some little tweaks in how much protein you're getting, what time of day you're eating, how many calories, all that stuff. And then you start to get these lab results back and we start to build the protocols. And clients are like, oh my God, I knew there was something wrong. I knew it. That makes total sense. And they've got this elation around, like, I'm not crazy. I'm not like, I don't have to live like this forever. I thought that this was just normal part of aging. And then there's a lot of grief for a lot of people too, because we have clients who have been through multiple rounds of IVF and don't have a baby yet. And they were always told, like, nothing's wrong. And then we're like, here's all the answers. And they're like, I wish I would have known that 2 years ago. I wish I would have known that 8 years ago. So it's a lot of mixed emotions around that. And we walk that path with clients through not only the biochemical changes and helping them through the lifestyle changes, but also the mental health part of this. Like, you've got a partner who's walking the path with you. And we've had clients that have started in a very dark place, and it's a journey, right? Like, there are ups and downs along the way. And that's why we insist on being in this program together versus saying, like, here, well, you can run the labs and, like, here's all your stuff, because that never works.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the fact that you personally have walked this path and you're a mom and you're brilliant, I really can't tell you. It feels like a warm hug. And I want to share with those folks listening how much I really urge them to reach out to you. And I say that because I personally experienced infertility with my third baby, and I always wanted 4 kids. Now I'm 40. And I was able to go through 2 rounds of IVF, got 1 egg, 1 embryo, 1 baby. And after all that, I was like, I'm done. But when I first met you, I started bawling when you said, so many of my clients have no answers and unexplained infertility and everything looks normal. And I'm like, wait, that's me. And it was just such a validating comment, because this started happening in my early 30s, even though I already had 2 kids easily. And when I describe you to people, and this is what I want to share with folks listening, especially, is like, I wish that I had met you sooner, because you were that missing step in my path that I would have absolutely grabbed with 2 hands. And I think that when you're suffering from miscarriages alone, it's a very lonely, dark path, as you just described, and you know very well. It's very isolating, and you don't really want to talk about it for a myriad of reasons. And then your mind goes to, like, well, it's black or white. I either have to go to IVF or I just have to quit. And knowing that there's this gentle middle ground where you really grab the person and the families and you say, you know, I'm here, I'm going to walk you through getting answers, and you really walk them through step by step. And you're essentially optimizing their body and you're giving them answers. And the fact that you do have that warmth behind everything you do, it's incredible. And like I said, I mean, so far since I met you, every week there's another conversation with somebody. And that leads me to another question for you. What do you say? So another friend I referred to you, Courtney, she is in her almost mid 40s, and it's a second marriage for her. And she has, adult children already, but she's in her newer marriage, 5 years in, and her husband's younger. And they really want a baby. And she said to me at lunch, she said, my doctor just said, like, it's too late. Like, it's
Yeah.
too late. So I said, you have to at least try. You have to call Courtney because they want a baby so badly and they'd make incredible parents. So I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
So the work that we're doing is, okay, like I like to describe it, like I said, as improving, optimizing cellular health and energy, which is going to extend your reproductive longevity as much as possible. Now, there is a point at which that's no longer possible, right? You're hitting the end of perimenopause and fully in menopause, and we can only extend it so long. But we can extend it far beyond what Western medicine would like you to believe. I have a new client in our one-on-one program who sent me a message this morning. And this happens a lot, by the way, when people are new in the program, they haven't run their labs yet, or they're like collecting samples and just getting started on things. And they'll go to she was at her OBGYN. And we as humans tend to put doctors on this pedestal like they are gods, and everything they say has so much bearing on our mental health. And she sent me a message this morning and said, she's 40 and they're trying for, they have another child already and they're trying for a second. And she's like, I left there so heartbroken because I told her I wanted another baby, and she said the most negative things about my age and that my chances were not much and I should immediately get to the fertility doctor. And what I say is that, and what I told her is, I know it's hard because we put doctors on a pedestal in our culture, and we give away a lot of our power to them because anything they say we ingest as truth. But they are not trained on extending reproductive longevity. OBGYNs are trained on the female body, the menstrual cycle, and delivering babies, right? Getting you through pregnancy and delivering babies, and they're great at that part. And fertility doctors are trained to primarily go through drug and treatment protocols to get you pregnant. And some of them have great success. But neither one of those specialties is trained to help you extend your reproductive longevity. And this 35 BS that we throw out, like you're 35, things are running out, is just BS. So everybody's going to be bio-individual and unique, but until you've figured out what's going on in your deeply in your body, and you've worked on correcting those imbalances to give yourself the best shot, you haven't done that work yet. So even going to IVF without doing that work, your chances are going to be less. I have another client who went through the program earlier this year and wanted to go IVF at the end of it. She was preparing for IVF. And she had PCOS, stuff going on with her thyroid, like everything. She was one of the people I was thinking of earlier. Nutrient imbalances and a lot going on in her gut. She worked through the program, and she was somebody who a fertility doctor would have gone, I don't know if we're going to get many embryos here. This is going to take a while. I don't remember her specific numbers, but I want to say they got 20 eggs and they had like 6 or 7 make it all the way. And they did their first transfer, and she just got a positive pregnancy test. So yeah, which again, can't guarantee that's going to happen every time, but gosh, are your chances better when you've done all of this work first. Like even for her to get the egg retrieval and the number that made it, to a week out was astounding to her doctors. And I attribute it to the work that she did before she went over there. So yeah, there's never a guarantee, but doing this work is going to be your best possible chance. And one more thing on this note about giving away our power to doctors. I get a lot of women who are in their 30s still who, they'll have AMH levels that aren't optimal and they're not ovulating. And they're like, my doctor told me I'm like in menopause and there's nothing else I can do, which I have a lot to say there, but the main thing is that's total BS. There's so much that you can do. Those levels can change when you remove stress and inflammation from the body, and we've seen a lot of success with it. So if you're sitting there and you've given away all of your power to a physician who's like, the only path forward is hormone replacement therapy and IVF, It's you should dig a little bit deeper before you go that path. Nothing wrong with that path, but figure out what's actually going on and causing all of that to be out of whack in the first place.
Yes, I think that's such a great point. And I think the conversation empowers individuals to get to know their body and be as healthy as they can be. And I thought it was really interesting what you just said about, using this as something that you can do with IVF. And this is another thing I absolutely would have done, because when you do IVF, it's almost like going to war. Like, it is such a mental and emotional and physical battle. And it's actually something that I think, after doing it and not really understanding the rigor behind it, it's one of the things I'm most proud of I've ever done my whole life.
Yeah.
And I never thought that I would say that. And I'm sharing that because if you are going to go into IVF the way I did and the way many women do, because you want that baby and you're basically going up for the battle of a lifetime. I wish I would have had a chance to do it when my body was in a state of optimal health. Because when you do it and then you go through it and you don't get any eggs, like that's what happened to me. It took me 2 rounds and only one embryo. It's heartbreaking. And not to mention the financial and the time and all these things. So, this idea that you can layer this in addition to going to a fertility doctor, I think is such an important piece of knowledge that can really empower people as they choose to move forward and fight for their baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I was telling somebody that you can think of it almost like an insurance policy. Obviously, there's no guarantees on what our bodies are going to do, but gosh, is it a pretty good insurance policy that you're going to have much, much better chances of early success with fertility treatments? Because, like you said, going through IVF is not, I've never been there like, oh, well, just do IVF if you can't get pregnant. Like, it's no big thing. Like, it's going out to grab a drink with your girlfriends. It is financially, emotionally, and physically very, very hard. And most people, the average spend on fertility treatments before most people are bringing home a baby in the United States right now is creeping up towards about $70,000 before you have a successful pregnancy. So if you can do what this client just did, right, where she had one retrieval, one transfer, that is saving you so much money to invest a little bit of time and money into doing this work alongside it before you go that path.
Yes, I just think it's so incredible. And the other huge thing about your business, Courtney, that I don't know if you really realize is, like, because this is such a dark, lonely path that so many people are walking, and they're walking it very quietly and privately because they don't want the judgment, and they're struggling and they're not sure, and so on and so forth. Like, getting to have somebody in your corner and really helping you advocate it just is transformative. Like, it really is such a big difference, because then all of a sudden you feel like you have somebody that fully understands all pieces of what's happening with you emotionally, and, like, you're not being guilted or shamed, and you have someone, and you mentioned this, that you partner with your clients. That partnership that alone, just from a mental health perspective, is so powerful when you're in such a dark, devastated place. And the
Yeah.
fact that about, you're living your life in 2-week increments. I mean, it's just an incredible service that you offer. It's truly remarkable.
Yeah, thank you. The other piece is, we talk about, like, people will tell us what their doctor said, and we don't have a national prescribing provider on the team right now, but that may be coming in the future so that we have people that are really patient advocates. But right now, what we do is say, okay, they're putting you on metformin and they want to put you on Synthroid. The metformin can help with your blood sugar, but it can also cause all these GI impacts. And by the way, did you know that a myo and decryoinositol product is very similar? Success rates are very similar in the studies without all of the GI impacts. Make your own decision, right? Talk to your doctor, but here's some information. Oh, they put you on Synthroid, but you're still not getting pregnant. Synthroid is a T4 only thyroid medication. Most of our clients need some support with T3 too. We'll do some work over here, but maybe you want to talk to your doctor about adding Cytomel into it. So we really give them some power. And a lot of people will tell us, I don't know if power is the right word, but knowledge is power, right? A lot of people will tell us as the program goes on how much more confident they feel advocating for their own health and how like prepared they are for doctor's appointments in Western medicine because of what they've learned through the work together.
That is fantastic. It truly is fantastic. Now, I have a question about your podcast moving forward. What can we expect in terms of topics?
Yeah. So we are going to have some interviews on here with different experts and also clients who have been through the program because what I found very comforting and what I know my community finds comforting is hearing from others who have been where they are and like been in their shoes. Because like you said, it can feel so lonely when you're going through this journey. So we're going to bring some people on who have been where you are beyond myself and Kimberly to tell their stories. We're going to have some experts on. And then I also have a list of topics that I've started collecting over on my Instagram community. And I will continue to ask for feedback for what people want to hear about. One of the common things people are asking about is like, tell me more about the testing, right? We talked a little bit about it for a couple of minutes, but we'll do some episodes where we do a deep dive on what exactly is a micronutrient test, how is it done, what does it tell us, how does that relate to your repeat pregnancy losses or inability to get and stay pregnant. We'll do that with our functional labs. And people are asking about gut health and thyroid health a lot.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to hear all about this. This is great. And also it's also something you can do for folks that aren't necessarily trying to get pregnant, but maybe they're just in perimenopause or they're having just various symptoms that they can work with you on. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true that the work that we're doing is helpful at different stages of life. I had a client recently who was like, my dad needs some help. And I said, well, obviously, the vast majority of our business is fertility clients, but he's welcome to come in and run because she's like, he wants to run all these tests and see all this. We can work with clients that are working on other issues. And one thing that I love, I just had a referral from one of our current clients who's like, I'm not ready to have a baby yet, but I know that my hormones are a mess and I want to figure out what's going on in my body. If we could reach more women who are at that stage, amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, if people want to ask questions or have you cover a specific episode, what's the best way for them to do that?
Where we're most active outside of the podcast is going to be over on Instagram. The handle over there is at Fertility Functionally. It's kind of a mouthful, Fertility Functionally. And you can just send us a DM. We're very conversational and responsive in the DMs. Like, hey, I heard your podcast episode and here's what I'm struggling with. I would love it if you could talk more about this, or I have this question. Can you answer it next week?
Thank you. And also, I will say, if you guys have not found Courtney on Instagram, you definitely need to check out her company. As she mentioned, her content is excellent. So definitely check her out. I am so excited that you're doing this because I can tell you, I will be listening. Also, half of my friends already go to Courtney, just FYI, just another data point there. I'm not even joking. Half the tennis team that I play on, they all were like, oh yeah, Courtney Saye, Courtney Saye. I'm like, wait, why don't I know her? So she's definitely a beloved member of our community here locally, and I know nationally as well. So thank you so much for letting me get to know you a little bit better, and congratulations again on your show. We're so excited.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
Right. We did it.